This is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the LD Micro Invitational 2017 in Bel Air, California. With me right now is Will Febbo from OptimizeRx, publicly traded company with the symbol OPRX. Will, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Bobby. Good to be here.
It's great to have you on. Thank you for joining us. So, for our audience, let's start off with an overview of the company, and we'll go from there.
Great, Bobby. Thanks for the time. OptimizeRx is a digital health company supplying marketing services to the pharmaceutical industry. We work with the top 25 manufacturers like Pfizer, Lilly, Novartis. We work with over 100 brands. There's about 800 on the market. And we basically digitize various forms of content, which we'll get into, and we distribute that right at the point of care, which is where the physician is with the patient.
So, tell me a little bit about the history of the company. I'm assuming there was a demand for what you're now providing.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, it was started by a few sales reps. What they were seeing was the inability to get into the hospital and actually deliver information for pharmaceutical companies. This is patient education, copay assistance, financial assistance, medical education. And so they had a very good idea about figuring out how to digitize that content and get it into the workflow of what are called electronic health records. The HITECH Act, which was passed back in 2008, mandated that physicians needed to work towards being on computers to track all of our medical records. As a result, there were about 500 of them created because they created the incentive to get on, but they didn't create the incentive to work together on it. That's good news for us. We're considered an aggregator of those electronic health records for pharmaceutical companies. So if you're a pharmaceutical company, you're not going to want to deal with 500 individual vendors to get your content through to them. You come to us, we get to over 370 of the 500, so a very efficient way of distributing content. And the main content we focus on, most of our revenue is around a coupon, basically. You have a copay. We all have seen copays are going up. Patients are often walking away from that first prescription because of the copay. Well, pharma has the ability to pay that copay through digitizing it. We distribute it. The doctor gives it to the patient either in printed form or electronic. And pharma is very interested in that because as an adherence mechanism, it's been proven by the numbers that if a patient is covered the first few times, they tend to stay on that drug, and that certainly improves outcomes.
So, for instance, I'm at my healthcare provider. Everything is electronic now. They let me know when my next appointment is, everything that I need to know. So, where does your technology then fit into that whole user experience? Am I seeing anything that you're then putting out there? I think you kind of hit on that a little bit.
Yeah, I did. That's a great example. It's a real-world example, right? So, over 85% of physicians nationally are now e-prescribing. So that's gone up so much over the last few years. It's over 2 billion prescriptions a year in 2016. So what the founders did and what we're leveraging as a team is they've embedded our technology into that e-prescription workflow. So if you're in the room with the physician, they're typing in a drug, whatever it may be. If there is content, it will within milliseconds go to our API, our cloud-based content delivery platform, and we'll find it, deliver it, and either pop up or ask to be printed or connected electronically. And in that particular case, why that's relevant is the physician doesn't have time. There's so much pressure on the physician. They have to be on the computer. They have to be with you. They're trying to take care of so many people a day. They don't remember that there's paper in the drawer or something outside. So this inside the workflow allows them to just deliver that effortlessly.
I was going to say, how much time are doctors spending on the computer now?
They're very grumpy about this. It's up to 4 hours a day. So if you think about their day, that is a lot. And you probably have felt that personally where you're with your doctor and while you're with them, they're typing. Yeah. So part of OptimizeRx technology solution is actually to reduce that time on the computer so they have more time with patients and more time for research.
So I want to talk a little bit about the business model itself. How does it work? Do you build the pharmaceutical side? Is that how it works?
So our paying clients are pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies. They engage us to basically reach the physicians through the EHRs, and we take content from financial messaging, banner messaging, brand messaging, and we distribute that through to the physician. What's unique about this is in the old model, you'd have paper distributed. And you don't know if that paper ever really reached the physician. It generally didn't. It was in the lobby or in the desk or in the drawer. This is specifically grabbed. The technology is in the workflow, so the physician, while they're at the computer, we know it's them. It goes to them. There's no pull, so there's no information pulled out. So there's no risk of HIPAA or compliance. This is really a push into the workflow, and certainly physicians have the ability to opt out of it. But pharmaceutical companies engage us. Usually they're one-year engagements, and there's a little bit of recurring revenue in there around reporting. But the projects range from $100,000 up to $1 million.
And how do the pharmaceutical companies measure their ROI then after they do engage you?
Yeah, this is the most powerful part of our offering, is because we know who's doing what. Every 6 months or so with major brands, we'll do an ROI analysis with a third party. And this is a consulting company, big, that everyone would recognize. And we do a control group. One set of physicians that don't have access to the content, one that does, and we measure the script lift, so prescription lift. And it averages about a 6-to-1 return, but it goes as high as 12-to-1.
And what's the competitive landscape look like? Are there other companies doing exactly what you do, or is it kind of more of a piece in the puzzle?
Well, this ties into sort of our growth and how over the last 2 years it's been somewhat flat. So, 10% a year, but it should be much more, and it's tracking that way. Basically, there isn't a lot of competition. There's one other competitor that's selling, is an aggregator of EHRs, has content it's delivering. It's less on the financial messaging side and more on the brand messaging side. But it is a new channel for pharmaceutical companies, right? So, and they don't open up really fast. So the last 4 years we've been educating the manufacturers, and the fact that we have 100 brands I think is very impressive, but there's 300 or 400 more to come. And so when we take our existing cost basis, which doesn't need to scale much more to add those other brands, and we increase our distribution, it's a really scalable model.
And what's your background? How did you get into all of this?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I spent my 30s building a company called MedPanel, which I ended up selling. It was a medical market intelligence business, all online. So we basically connected physicians and industry, similar to what we're doing now, in assessing clinical and commercial need. After I sold that business, I got involved in capital markets a little bit. And I was never really a banker, but I really liked our advisory clients. OptimizeRx was one of those advisory clients. So as they were working on trying to scale the business, they had a loose relationship with one of the WPP sister or subsidiaries, and I knew that CEO very well. So I sat down with her and said, I think WPP should really invest in this business. They ended up doing a $5 million investment in October of 2015. And about 2 months later, both the CEO then and founder and WPP and the board asked me to consider running the company. And what really excites me about it is it's really hard to connect these two constituencies. Pharmaceutical companies need to be able to market their goods to finance the R&D, which we all benefit from. And so, firstly, I like it because it's health and it's tech, and that's what I'm all about. I live in Cambridge, Mass. I'm surrounded by that and love it. Secondly, it improves outcomes because people stay on their drugs and it's more affordable. And we haven't even really gotten to the really interesting part, which is patient education, medical education, and prior authorization. So there's just so much to do, but we have a huge advantage in the market. We access more physicians than any other aggregator in the market, and pharmaceutical companies really waking up to this channel.
So from what you can tell me then, in the near term, what are some of the company's milestones that you're hoping to achieve?
So for us to scale, we need to continue to bring in more electronic health record partners. One of the pieces that we don't have right now are the hospital systems. So these are things like Partners in Boston, just big groups of hospital systems, and they run on generally an Epic or a Cerner-based software. Epic and Cerner are software companies that don't necessarily care what we do, but the physicians and the hospital systems do. So it's a slower sales cycle, and we really just started it this year. But a milestone for me this time next year, when we're sitting here, hopefully, will be that we do have a big chunk of the hospital system market. So that's one. The other is layering on and growing our brand messaging, which is a media spend. The financial messaging is a distribution model. We get paid every time a physician shares that financial message. The banner messaging is a CPM model every time they view it, and it's a very big market. It's probably the fastest growing digital market in the industry in health. So I'd also like to have that be a significant piece. And then just continue. We've got a great team, but just continue to build an awesome team.
And where can our audience go and find more information about the company?
So you can go to our website, OptimizeRx.com. You can call me. The phone number is on the website. You can email me. We've got an open door policy.
My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're here at the LD Micro Invitational 2017 in Bel Air, California. With me again is Will Febbo from OptimizeRx, publicly traded company with the symbol OPRX. Will, thank you very much again.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it.